Any other public comment? Go ahead.
I just want to make a comment on something you said. You said we have Leslie in the office now?
Yeah, she's working in the office.
Was this publicized that we needed help here? I know this is not on the agenda, but it was a comment that you made that Leslie is now in the office?
Yeah, I as a board, I don't know if they advertise. I don't know what, you know, we're not, the board is not involved in the hiring and firing, except for the manager, because he's the only one that works for us. So I don't know what the protocols or procedures that was used, Ruth.
Well, I know that the last two have been hired, and I didn't see anything put out as that we even needed anybody. And I know someone that is very qualified that put their application in years ago, and she's never been called for an interview. So I'm wondering how these girls get the job in the office when it's never publicized.
Thank you. I'll bring it back. Any other public comments?
Oh, go right ahead. Go right ahead.
You go.
No.
He said you keep muting. Please. I got a question for Pete. These wells over here that you have, the new ones, is there a way to monitor the water level as you go along?
Yes. Right now we're doing it manually.
But it's not
It's
electronic.
It is. The equipment is part of the SCADA. I know that's a technical term, but that's
So
it
you
is.
will be able to read it here.
Real time. Yeah.
So you know how much water, how fast it's going down,
Absolutely.
putting back.
Per minute.
Yeah.
My concern is that it can take up to 100 years to recharge that aquifer. So if we keep pumping it out of there now, and we need it later, like next year, we're not supposed to get the water, it may not be there.
Yeah. That.
A finite supply.
Just try to keep it on going.
Of course. Just real quick, there's a lot of talk about the USDA grant and how it's going to play in our finances because of the money, I guess, we've already sunk into the ground wells. And I'm curious that, you know, before the packets always contained any government correspondence in the packets, so the customers could read that for themselves and draw their own conclusions as to what it meant. And it just seems like it's being spoon-fed from us, from the board or the general manager, and I would like to see these letters back in the agenda so we can read them for ourselves. I think we can probably figure out what they mean. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Okay. We have one question from for us.
Pete, just in general numbers, when we first were talking about the wells and the grants, we looked at, we were going to spend $2 million.
Yeah.
We were going to get back $1.6 million, and we would end up with wells and owning a piece of property. Are we still pretty much on track for that?
Yes.
Thank you.
If not, we'll go on to the next item, which is Randy's report. If you want to address that.
Yeah, I know that one of the major activities that they did this just recently over the last couple of weeks has been pull the pipe out of the barge, the many sections of pipe that they had to dismantle, and they took it out in a big chunk and put it up on the shore, and then I received a call that it was floating because the lake level came up so fast that it floated it. So they had to go back out, you know, here's this huge long snake floating around out in the lake, you know. And so they had to get right with it and get in and get that torn apart. And that took a lot of work. Randy does address the fact that the leaks are down, the numbers are down. I can remember a little over a year ago getting calls every day wondering what these cones were on the street and when we were going to get to these leaks, and what was going on as far as, you know, are we here or are we not when it came to leaks? So that's one thing that we definitely have down. Even though our leakage rate, the amount of water we're losing is still up. It's not showing up on the surface, which is good and bad. Also, a lot of the things, you know, I did get a little bit of feedback from the board about the degree of the depth that Randy gets into and what was done, because this really is just kind of a little bit of information. He could, and this is something I think we should talk about at that planning meeting, the level of detail that we want, because he can tell a pretty good story about everything from what goes on every day to you know, higher level summary of where we put our efforts. And so I can tell you we are taking care of the facilities to the best that we can with the staff that we have available, and we'll be much more organized about it when we have a systematic maintenance plan in place. But when you've got vehicles and equipment that is breaking down at the same time, you've got a certain amount of time to get something done, and it seems to be just an ongoing thing right now. So we'll keep diving into it, but I don't have anything really specific to address from this report.
Russ, any comments?
Yes. So we really don't have an idea where the rest of that water is going now. I mean, we know we have fewer reported leaks, but we still have water going someplace.
Could be a combination of theft. You know, I mean, it's hard. Because it continues at pretty much the same rate. When you look at the leakage rate in gallons per minute, you know, it does fluctuate a little bit. I'm sorry, I've got another graph that I was looking at that shows what that average leakage rate is in gallons per minute. If you just take the total acre-foot loss for the month and divide it by the number of minutes, you can see that it fluctuates a little bit, but we're burning water all the time, which leads me to believe that these are leaks and not just somebody stealing water, turning on irrigation, turning it off during the middle of winter. So the fact that we can't find them, as you know, we're covered by 3 foot of dirt, possibly 3 foot of rock, and then underneath asphalt, and sometimes it'll run in an area where you just can't see it. And so our plan is still to be able to read the master meters and do that at the same time that we drive the community to read the customer meters and do the math real time so that we can narrow it down. The thing is, we've got to redo some of our routes, because our meter routes, the way that the information is put into the computer, because it has to specifically match up with the tank zone. So we've got some data manipulation there. The accuracy of the meters in the remote locations, again, is unknown. Those meters have never been serviced in many years, and some of them aren't even working. So it's hard to tell. Take that master reading. If we don't have a meter reading in that area, we can't compare the customer usage to that. You've got to have those two numbers. So we're working that into the scope of work for the grant, for that $1 million grant, as the first step. Get that information so that we know where to best put our resources to replace the service lines.
Are plant losses in that number?
What's that?
Plant losses, are they in that number?
It is the total that goes out of the treatment plant, so it doesn't take into consideration. That number is just specifically distribution losses. Or it takes into consideration changes in storage in the tank levels and everything. So I mean, it's pretty accurate. The one thing is the effluent meter is in the process of being replaced. We've just placed an order because unfortunately the meter was replaced without any engineering done on it. since it was installed in the beginning, there was a replacement meter done, but it was just purchased off the shelf without a engineering done on it, on its condition, so it's failed prematurely. It doesn't, the effluent meter out of the treatment plant. It reads manually, and it functions, it turns, and it does have a reading, but it can't transmit that data, and that is causing us grief with our state reports, and it's also causing us grief with these reports to be able to get the correct data. So I know that's technical stuff, but
Jim?
Yeah, I noticed in Randy's report here, and Victor brought it up, the hydrants is a big concern in the community with insurance rates and other things of that nature. And we've had some discussion about it in the past. And I know that it was asked by a few individuals that, do we have a detail of how many hydrants we have, when they were last serviced, and what our plan of action is? Do you know if we have that?
we have that information. I can't tell you whether it's
I'm not looking for it, but if we have
Absolutely.
it, that's the key,
Yeah.
because I think initially we were saying we don't even know how many hydrants we have. I believe that came out.
Yeah,
And
we've got
now
it.
if we have an idea
Yeah.
and we're getting an idea, we're moving in the right direction to kind of ease some of these worries with the community. And
Yeah.
that's my worry too, I am in the community.
You know, in reality, I've got it in my notes when we talk about public information, anything that keeps coming up over and over, we need to do some
Yeah, absolutely.
research on. Again, when I put out a piece of information, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's all the way
Yeah.
perfect. There may be gaps in it, but I intend to put something out about fire hydrants and standard maintenance and responsibilities and those types of things.
Well, I think the key being is now that the community knows that we are starting to perform the maintenance that has been neglected in the past. And probably everyone in this room can attest to that fact, that the hydrants have not been maintained. So if we can appease the community and say, we're working on it, we're working it right now, we're going to get through them all, that's a key public type thing. And the second thing is when we originally designed these wells, we designed them for emergency use. December 31st obviously became an emergency because MIP said shut off the water, you're not taking any more for the lake, so we kicked on the wells. Got it. Here we are, 3 months later, and we're still on the wells.
Right.
Now, I understand that some of that has to do with the turbidity in the water, and it's super dirty in our treatment plant, but it caused us a lot of work. However, as a member of the public, again, I would be concerned with some of the comments that were made. It takes a long time to replenish these aquifers. And I know at the last meeting, it was asked that some information be put out to the public to let them know that we're still on the wells. Did I miss it?
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
No, you didn't. I'm sorry. I
Okay.
just was making myself a note of things to make sure that we address.
Yeah.
And
Well, I think
Public
that the
information.
key would be is if there is a reason we're still on the wells, i.e. our treatment plant can't handle it, I don't know what, there could be a multitude of things, and Randy probably has the answers to those. But it's important that the public understands why we're still on those wells.
right.
And not on the lake, because everyone knows the lake is up.
Mhm.
We could pull water from the lake right now.
Very soon.
Okay,
Right.
thank you.
Be my last comment.